Oh man, oh man, oh man. Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the Blade Bias podcast after a very long break, which is my fault entirely. I'm not even going to make a reference that it
Yeah, it
could be
is.
anyone
I can
else's.
vouch for that. It is your fault,
Yep.
but it's okay.
Hopefully, you enjoyed the podcast that came out a few weeks ago at this point. That was from, oh gosh, I don't know, 6 months ago. Love that. Today, I am joined by my wonderful co-host Brandon Baker of the Blade Bias Pod. No, you're not of the Blade Bias podcast.
I am
Of the
of the
Will
Blade
Hirsch
Bias.
YouTube channel.
No, you that is technically true. Welcome to the Blade
I
Bias
mean, it
podcast. I'm
is.
joined by my co-host Brandon Baker of the Blade Bias podcast.
So on this amazing start to 2025, when I have completely forgotten how to present to a camera, apparently, we have a lot of stuff in store for you today.
Yeah, we do.
Most importantly, this will be our 2024 recap video and our look ahead at what we are dealing with in 2025, which we'll make some predictions. We'll see how it goes.
Boy, do we
And
have some
there's going
plans
to
for
be a lot of
2025.
discussions. Yes, we do.
Lots of
How
plans.
many of them are going to get actually executed? Stay
Maybe
tuned and
one.
find out. Maybe.
But yeah, so
Maybe.
2024, I would argue, was one of the craziest years for Balisongs in general. And 2025, due to a variety of circumstances, is going to be extremely interesting.
Would you
And we'll see where that goes. But
would
2024 was
you
great. There was a lot of good things that happened in 2024.
would you happen you did just say 2024 was craziest year. Would you put
One
it
of them.
above like the big boom of 2020/2021?
So the thing that stood out to me about 2024 was established brands made a lot of changes,
Mm-hmm.
and brands that hadn't made as impactful or haven't didn't have as much of an impact made a big splash. Like I think about the way that Machine Wise completely revamped everything that they were
Right.
doing to now have the Tai Sasori and the Totori. I think about like Squid Industries introduced a bunch of different new systems for different things, including like being able to like have like a they have like a whole customizer system now. But the main thing I was thinking of was all the crazy ballad songs in the Ballast release this year. From the we had the of course I don't have it immediately on me. Where's my nearest one? Oh my god, it's so far away. I don't even have it next to me, and I don't know where it is. But the Volt Pro Live
Fair
Blade,
enough.
the Volt Pro Live Blade was a
Yeah?
thing, and then you had the Canyon, you had the Extrusion, you had the Wing. I think was also in 2024.
Like just barely, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Cheese and the Teflon
Oh
Volt.
jeez. My beloved.
Um,
And the blue
like
cheese. And the
and
and
yeah,
the
now
pink cheese.
I guess that's technically 2025 stuff.
That's true.
For those
Don't
variants of the cheese, but then you also had uh Fellowship Blades go away from the whole Balisong space. You had a couple other smaller makers kind of move on, or Heibel knives moved on to different things. So that's where I think 2020 and 2021 we saw a large increase in a lot of different makers and stuff, but 2024 there was just a dynamic shift with
yeah.
a lot of different things. So which is the most uh impactful and like most notable year for Balisongs, that could be debated all day. But I would say 2024 will be in the record books as one of the more interesting ones in terms of specifically good Balisongs getting so affordable.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh, it was such a stellar year for beginners, for budget-oriented flippers, for really, I mean everyone. When there's good stuff cheap, everyone wins, you know? It's just
Yeah,
how it goes.
yeah.
And we'll see if that continues. We'll get into that later.
We will talk about that. That is one of the actually
One of the genuine
big
predictions for
things looming over.
2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
I think to
Also, in terms
get
of 2024 being notable, this little fucker came out too, which is a big change. Like the last time Benchmade came out with a even remotely, or a sub $500 Balisong was a long time ago. But yeah, just had, yeah.
When was the last time Benchmade released a good Balisong? Oh, okay. I
Oh,
made some
got
people
him!
mad with that one.
Wow,
Okay.
wow.
Um, no, I think I don't really have too much negative to say about 2024, but to just get it out of the way at the beginning, I think 2024 was the first time that we've seen like the true and real effects of climbing so high like we did in the 2020 2021 era and now coming down from that high. I still
Yeah.
maintain that we are bigger than we were post boom in 2021
Oh
in
yeah.
2020 whatever year it was,
Oh yeah.
but like we're now experiencing what it's like to like lose that peak and just and kind of come back down to normal.
Yeah.
Whether or not you agree with that, because sure, like we didn't have companies shutting down back then, is to be debated. But that's kind of where I'm at. I think we're still above kind of that. If you draw a line from the before times, I think we're still healthily above that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I can attest to that just based on like our analytics, even like
Yeah.
sales numbers for like the Volp and the Volp Pro and the Teflon Volp. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
there's still a large amount of people joining the hobby for the first time right now. Like at the moment we're recording this podcast, there's a lot of new people coming into it. Whether they stay or not, that's up for debate. Whether different people can, survive amidst the current economic times that we're in. And, you know, well, like even, I brought up like Fellowship Blades. Uh,
Right.
we could spend a whole podcast just picking apart why a company like Fellowship Blades would struggle to exist in the market at all, let alone the more difficult financial times we've been in. As a not even, oh, it's just the United States. Like no, from a global standpoint,
Right.
uh, people haven't been spending as much on very expensive little flippy toys, and maybe spending more money on groceries that they can eat. I can eat a Balisong all live long day, and it's very important to the nutrition of a Brandon clone. But most people can't,
Yeah.
which I
All of
say is
you
a design
complain
flaw of the
about
human race.
true. And all of you out there complain about high grocery prices, but just imagine what feeding a Brandon clone
I
costs.
know, I know.
Have some friggin' sympathy.
You want to save
What
money
is he
on
getting?
groceries. This podcast is sponsored by Aldi, except it's not. And I love Aldi. And if you want to save money on groceries, go shop there. I shit you not. It's 50% cheaper than where you normally shop. Anyway,
Aldi's sick. I like to go through that little section they have with the freezers that they switch out every week. It's like
Aldi
checking the
finds,
Fortnite
baby.
item shop for the
Yep.
day.
Yep. That's one of the things I did in 2024. I did a 25-minute long PowerPoint presentation at a PowerPoint party about why Aldi is the best grocery store. Don't at me.
Hey,
So maybe
and this
one day that'll be
Balisong
uploaded.
podcast is off to a great start.
Yeah. Anyway,
Um,
so what we wanted to try to do was kind of do some of our highlights of 2024. I have a variety, but given I just gave my whole Aldi spiel. Ethan, what's something kind of vaguely in chronological order, if you want, or just
Fair.
pick them up,
Bro,
pick
I don't even remember
them
what I
off the
had
top
for
of your head.
breakfast this morning.
Did you have breakfast?
You want?
I hope so. You're a growing boy.
Oh shit! I think I
Got 'em.
forgot it.
We got 'em, boys.
I genuinely, I don't know what my first highlight would be in like a vaguely chronological order. I mean,
Then
I
it
could
doesn't have
just
to be.
take the cop out. I can just take the cop out answer and say, "Hey, yo, Blade Show, bro, that was pretty sick." You know what I'm saying, dog? I don't know why I started talking like that. Um,
Yep. I
I
don't
guess
know
the
either.
camera scares me after being so. I took a break. Okay, it's been a while since I've talked to a camera. Um, yeah, I think the highlights for me last year were honestly a lot of the Nibali's releases. Like just
Yeah.
seeing Nibali's continue, and you can say, "Oh, he's a Nibali's page show all you want." The cheese didn't exist 3 years ago. The Canyon didn't exist 3 years ago. Three
No.
years ago, my starter Balisong was a $60 plastic squiddy bee. That was like the starter Balisong, or like the BS you buy on Amazon that doesn't flip and it falls apart in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Now we have freaking bushing metal Balisongs that have like really cool designs that genuinely flip pretty good. I've seen a few people recently start to like naysay on the Canyon, which is wild to me considering that's one thing about 2024. You want to talk about negativity. People have gotten so spoiled by these cheaper Balisongs. I genuinely like they're
Yeah.
amazing, don't get me wrong. I love it. But there's been so much more discourse I feel like about how like other more expensive Balisongs are like not worth it anymore, which is crazy because it's like, hey, the $70 Orion just like physically is not possible for someone like Squid or Machine Wise to create. Like that's
Yeah.
just it's just not going to work like that. So that's something that's actually going to be interesting going into the new year, but we'll talk about all of that later. Um, like I said before, when cheap stuff is good, everybody wins. It's easier to get into the hobby, it's easier to stay in the hobby, to grow a collection, to find something that you like. So having not just genuinely good options, but so many different options. The cheese flips different than the Canyon, flips different than the Orion, flips different than even something plastic like I don't know, the Flip Forge palette is pretty awesome. So that was a huge highlight for me. Specifically,
Yeah.
the I got to say the cheese. The cheese was a huge highlight for me last year. I love it.
Yeah. Um, all that stuff from Nibalis was a great Nibalis and LDY. It's been a great turning point. But I agree. Something I say in our Tai Sasori and Totori review is the thing people have to keep in mind is that Chinese Balisong pricing is the exception, not the rule.
I've been
Because like,
saying.
yeah, and it just and so that's something and because you said it too, but that's just something I want to start hitting home more is just as people's perceptions change of like what a cheap Balisong should be. It's like just keeping in mind it's like the way they make stuff, the way or just the ease at which they can make it in terms of like mainly just having such easy access to the materials to create it and having the
Right.
manufacturing space to do it like just completely different thing than what say like I brought up machine wise like what Nabalis can do with a bunch of
God,
employees and
that's
a ton
pretty.
of yeah, isn't it pretty? Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's
But
so
what
pretty. Holy
yeah,
shit.
but what Nabalis can do to make something like this on a mass scale in the heart of like basically the heart of the entire manufacturing world in Shenzhen, China is very different than what Machine Wise can do in the United States with like 6 or 7 employees. Just completely different thing. So I mentioned
Yeah.
that because I think that's perhaps something that's been a struggle for even American makers is just Chinese made stuff has gotten better and better and better. Um,
Competing with it has to be difficult. It
oh
has to
yeah,
be.
yeah, for
Like
sure.
it just
So it's good for the growth of the hobby, but yeah, I've also it's been frustrating seeing. I think part of this is a fault of the marketing, but people just having such high expectations for the cheap stuff too. Which like Nabalis for example, I think that they could tone down the way they market. Like, oh, it has no tap and no play, like because they have that listed with a lot of their products, and so people expect like, oh, it's a $40 Balisong that's going to have a 100% perfect tune and no issues
I mean,
whatsoever. Like, okay, that's probably they should change how they market it, but like expecting a $40 product with a bushing pivot system to have a perfect tune with no
yeah.
issues whatsoever, it's like you do
To
have
be
to
fair,
adjust your
they don't have
expectations
tap.
there. They often don't. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
they okay, yeah, that's fair. They
Yeah.
often don't. I
Yeah.
actually I don't think I've had an Abali's product that developed a crazy amount of tap
They
that wasn't just a
do
screw coming loose.
yeah, they have really upped their game with that, but it's still not perfect. But
I do
I've
get
gotten
what you mean
messages from
though.
people like, "Hey, my Canyon, it has like the very, very smallest amount of like not like 95% handle swing of what it should have. Like, I'm gonna return it. I feel like they screwed me. I'm like,
I mean, you
That
could screw it and probably fix it pretty easily. Just
yeah, I'm like it does come with replacement hardware and like everything you need to mess. Like, have you messed with it at all? And so then that led to the no, I haven't messed with it at all. Have you tightened it? No. Have you lubed it? No.
I'm detecting a problem. That's a good point. I need
Yeah.
to write that down for a future project of mine to lube and tap,
Yeah, make
lube
sure to
and
tap your
tighten your
Balisong.
Balisongs.
Um,
I'm writing that down as we speak. Cool. Thank you.
but no, yeah, 2024 was a big year for both Nivalis and LDY. BB Barfly had a ton of great Balisongs this year. The BB Superfly, the
Yeah.
Barracuda V2 are fantastic. We have,
Was a Superfly
Barrac-
this year? I guess it
I
was.
think it was. Don't quote
Yeah, I
me on
went.
that, but it was at least late 2023. But I'm pretty sure it was 2024 that officially
Yeah,
became
I
a
think
thing.
so.
Um, but yeah, so there was a lot of cool stuff. Even Squid Industries released quite a few things this year too, from the production Hydro, the Thai Kraken, the collaboration with Microtech, the whatever I can't remember
Oh
the
yeah.
Fly Father,
Yeah.
um, the Mako V5s. Like they released a bunch of stuff this year. So yeah, it was just um a lot of growth in a lot of areas, and of course, like I mentioned, Fellowship Blades, like they of course went. So from what I understand, Grant's doing fine. He's just not doing Balisong stuff now.
Yeah, they just
Um,
pivoted,
yeah, so
which
he's
you
happy
can't
with where
even
things
blame
are at.
them.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
machine wise, was 2024 the year of the Sonora? Did the Sonora happen this year?
yes, I believe that
Yeah,
was
I think
this year.
talk about like a fundamental pivot. I think the Sonora is like the catalyst of balisong makers starting to realize that there is extraordinarily more profit elsewhere, not in balisongs.
Yeah, so that's something I've talked with like Martine and at Machine Wise, and I'm not about to dive into the very nitty gritty of those kinds of conversations that I have with those kind of people. But so it's not a fully the intent of it is not, oh, we're just going to move into like making pocket knives now and see
Right.
you later battle songs. Like no, it's just they definitely can coexist. And it's just one of those things that it's like, this is a bigger market and this can help us remain financially stable, which means that we can
Yeah.
make a lot more cool stuff and don't have to bust our balls making tons of ballad songs. We can still make a lot of ballad songs and make this other thing that is a little bit more stable. So
Right,
that's
because
kind
the
of been where
the
they're at.
cap is higher, the audience is bigger. I
Yep.
mean, looking at the Sonora, because they published like they had a Google Doc at one point which showed you like all the pending orders they had. They
Yeah.
had like 200 Sonoras to like 10 Seraphs at one point or something
Yeah.
like that. It's so yeah, they're not pivoting away from it, but I think the Sonora was definitely like the wake up call that other makers needed to be like, maybe we should look into this because to
Yeah.
my knowledge, a lot of the American makers then subsequently announced that they were at least working on some sort of folding knife.
Yeah.
You've got the Sonora, you've got the other folding knife Machine Wise has been teasing for a while now.
Yeah.
You had
Grant started to
Grant's
work on
thing.
one. And
I think
Squid.
didn't Squid, yeah, Squid said
Yeah,
something
Lucas
about
has
making
shared
one at
quite a
one
bit.
point.
No, yeah, like that. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
seen that on his Instagram, but yeah, like it's a officially a thing. It is interesting, but the one that could be a whole separate topic. Go to the Squidmaster 23 on Instagram to look at the posts he's made about it. It's a bearing knife,
Most of them are.
but most of them are. But I thought people were so mind blown with the Machine Wise Sonora with it having a
Mm.
bushing pivot system with
You
it.
thought they'd go
I
that
thought
route.
that would be a no go or a no go, like a full
A no
send for
brainer.
Squid Industries. Yeah, a no brainer to like, oh yeah, we're absolutely gonna do a bushing pocket knife because yeah, that's a great idea. But they didn't do that, which was interesting to me. Um,
I, dude, I was shocked by how impressed people were with like bushings. Because I remember
yeah,
watching reviews of the Sonora when it first came out, and someone was like, it has like the smoothness of washers, but like the tightness of bearings, or something along those lines. I don't
yeah,
know. And my first thought as a Balisong flipper was like, those crazy sons of bitches. They done did put a bushing in that thing, didn't they? But like that's not a thing apparently. Like
No, it's not.
you don't see that very often. I'm not saying they're the first ones to do it. I'm sure they
Yeah.
aren't, but like you just don't see it as often, and especially with the ability of Machine Wise to tune those bushings to such a
Yeah.
precise degree. That was pretty cool to see, like a little Balisong gift to the rest of the knife community, even though we
Yeah.
didn't invent bushings, but still.
Yeah, no, it was well, like even like one of the biggest EDC YouTube channels, Best Damn EDC. It was like one of their top in their top 10 folder knives of 2024, and like was like
That's
basically
awesome.
one of the highest, like stood out the most in Taylor, the person that runs that channel. Like the most in his mind is like, this is insane. Like, and it's obviously expensive, but I cannot tell you how expensive this thing could be, and it's not.
Dude, that thing feels so good in the hand. Oh my god.
I know. I
I'm not the
I I I'm not in a place to buy one, but boy, hi Dalen. If one accidentally, also hi Martine, if one accidentally just ended up in a box and it happened to be near um my house and it happened to have my name on it, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Yeah, so the ways that Machine Wise and various other companies have expanded, I think is cool. I think it can only really benefit the hobby in a lot of ways. Like I think some more cross contamination between the EDC space and the Balisong space wouldn't hurt at all, and that's one of my big. Without spoiling anything, I have major plans for those worlds to collide with the content that we make and the different things that other content creators that make that more of that kind of stuff. And I'm very excited about that. Um, but in terms of other 2024 stuff, for me, because we brought up Blade Show and then we completely moved past Blade Show as like
Well,
the
I mean, we've
highlight.
already done like a video
We
talking
did,
about Blade Show, so
but Blade Show West is the thing that I haven't talked about. And was my second
mm,
favorite trip that I did in 2024. The first being my New Zealand trip, my month-long camper
right.
van extravaganza, which I never talked in detail about. But maybe as we're recording this, it's now a year since I did that trip. But that was one of the most amazing things I've ever done in my entire life, from skydiving between snow-capped mountains and glaciers and the ocean between those two things. Crazy. Rolling down a ball or rolling in a ball down a giant hill when that ball is filled with water and you're spinning in it. Crazy. Jumping off of a cliff was wild. Going to what's called the seventh wonder of the world, Milford Sound, was insane. Um, Doing a 12-mile round trip hike was absurd. But yeah, that experience has stuck with me extremely prominently in my head. And I've actually talked to a few people from New Zealand now, which is very
Oh,
cool.
really?
Because that like one just a couple days ago was like, hey, I want to get like something from the Balis. It'll be my first like proper Balis song. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it though because
Cool.
of customs. But I know one other person that's gotten a Balis stuff in New Zealand, and they were fine. But yeah, that trip was just unreal. And I took, weirdly, my trusty sidekick for that trip was my Squiddy AL. So this is weirdly
A
more
good choice.
sentimental to me now. And I chose it because it doesn't actually have a point. So if someone was
Right.
upset about it being in my bag, it's like, well, okay, well, I can't even stab anybody with it. So
Bro, you're getting mad at a goofy little guy.
I know,
You
yeah. What? He's
understand?
so happy to see you, TSA
You're getting mad
agent.
at the
Like, come on.
goofiest little guy.
This is one of my favorite ballad songs. I think Squid crushed it with that. But Blade Show West was insane, and you should
Yeah,
definitely go in 2025 if you can. Mainly, even just going
maybe.
to see Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is a beautiful city, and like doing there's like
Now
you can go
that.
to Sundance, like where the Sundance Film Festival is. It's in the mountains. Going there in fall, which Blade Show West is always in like fall time. One of the prettiest areas I've been in my whole life. But yeah, that experience was great. I didn't focus on filming anything, so I just got to hang out with people.
That's
Um,
the way to do
yeah,
it.
I was a judge for the West Coast flipping competition, and that taught me a lot about myself in terms of the various judging mistakes that I made, but also just the whole experience in general. Um, and getting to be a part of that was just unbelievably cool. And that is interestingly where I got probably my sleeper hit Balisong of 2024, which is
Oh yeah.
my Fellowship Blades Gaboon. A guy
Gaboon.
just flopped out his Balisong case. And he was like, "Hey, Brandon, you want to buy anything?" And I had no intentions of buying anything. But then he pulls out. I'm gonna try to best show this on camera and do it vertically, like a good boy, because that's the orientation that this podcast is in. Let me. It's weirdly dirty. It is kind of a fingerprint magnet. But look at this anodization.
Oh, look at
Look,
it's like a.
look
Oh, I
at
don't think I've
that.
ever seen a toxic anode that has like a defined lightning bolt down the
Yeah,
middle of a blade or down the middle of the handle. That's
yeah. And,
sick.
and this light doesn't even do it justice. And can you see like right there? It looks like yellow or like orange.
Yellow, but then
And I
it
turn
goes
it
to like
this way.
purple.
Yeah, like look at that.
Yeah.
It's absolutely here. I might be able to show it better. Oh, there you go. There you can kind of see it a little bit better.
Yeah, dude, that's
But yeah, so he
cool.
pulled this out, and it had a good tune on it, and it came with black and red zippy spacers too.
It's like it
Sold
was
it,
calling to you.
yeah, sold it to me for 300, I think. Uh, which is technically the most raw dollars I've spent on a Balisong. But I love this thing. It
Wow.
has a really It's really smooth, both because of the anodization and just the way the handles are machined in general. And it's really light, and it has just a nice, um, subdued sound to it. Uh,
Mhm.
and yeah, so this is probably one of my favorite Bell songs of 2024. Is this, and I never expected to say that, uh, but it makes me even more upset because this is Fellowship Blades. Makes me more upset that Grant is no longer doing Bell Song stuff because, man, this is very specific. I don't think everybody will like it because it's really light. But for me,
Right.
with the weird stuff that I like, man, this is so much fun, and I flip it all the time. Um, but yeah, that experience was awesome. Met
Oh, I bet.
Artsy. Artsy was great. A ton of different people I never met before. Max Balisong nerd. Um, I could list so many people that I met that I hadn't met before. It was just a blast. One specific story, weirdly my favorite story, outside of I met the guys at Best Damn EDC, and had a great collaboration with them. Um, or a collaboration, great conversation with them. So that laid some seeds for some potential collaboration opportunities with them, which is really cool. But my favorite completely random moment that I don't even know that I've shared with you is it's about 45 minutes before the West Coast flipping competition. And I'm like doing my final rounds of like being on the show floor because the show was basically going to be over by the time the competition was over.
Okay.
And I'm kind of doing some like just walking around the show floor, checking out the like if there was anything I missed, if there was anything else that I wanted to do. Um, and Eldon Talley emerges from the shadows, and
As he tends to
he
do.
is holding two like 32-ounce Michelob Ultras, one in each hand, and he's like, "Hey, yo, Brandon, I gotta drive soon, and I opened both of these, and I can't drink all of them. You want this?" And hands me. He didn't even drink out of it. He's like, I opened them both at the same time as a joke, but I can't drink both of them. You want this? And when Eldon Talley hands you a 32-ounce Michelob Ultra, on the show floor of Blade Show, which you're allowed to drink if you're over 21. When he does that, you have no choice but to take it and drink the whole thing.
True.
So I took it and I drank the whole thing. It thankfully did not make me at all intoxicated to any notable degree prior to the West Coast flipping competition. And I don't even like Michelob Ultra, but that was just the funniest because it was just like I took it. He's like, "Cool, thanks, man," and he just walked away, and that was it. And it was incredible. Eldon Talley
That's
is
the
a
most
treasure.
that's the most Eldon Talley interaction that I have possibly heard thus far.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and that's on top of a ton of other great things. Well, probably my favorite experience there was just like I said, just being able to hang out with people and just being able to like even like I had probably had 5 or 6 different like it was a kid like with their parent come up and be like, hey, like we're big fans of your stuff and like do that whole thing, which flatters me to the nth degree still. But it was very nice, like at Blade Show Atlanta, like you've seen us firsthand, like we're just going that whole
Right.
time. But with some of those people, I was literally able to have a half-hour conversation
Yeah.
about just anything that they wanted to talk about. And so that was really enjoyable, just being able to kick
Did
back,
you
not worry about being anywhere, not worrying about, oh, I have to film this or I have to think about this thing or that thing. As much as I enjoy filming the videos,
right.
it was extremely nice being able to do that. And I think you'll like that aspect of it too. It's a smaller show. But you still have Squid Industries there. BRS was there. Eldon was there. Acid Works. Um, Andrew Myers had a booth. There was the weird, crazy that I got this at Blade Show West. The Poikilo, which is a titanium balisong that the pivots are hidden and you can like slide off these metal scales basically, and it's
Wait,
pretty.
I don't even know if I knew you had
I
this.
don't. You maybe didn't. I don't know if I've talked to
What
you
the
about this.
hell?
Uh,
I saw there was some knife that surprised a lot of people coming out of Blade Show West. I think this was it.
yeah,
Because I kept
it's
seeing stories about people talking about some like random maker that no one had heard of showing up there and having a knife that was like pretty solid.
yeah. This is. I think there
I
were
think
two
that's it.
companies that fit that description. This was one of them
Oh,
though.
okay.
But yeah, this thing.
It's a pretty balisong.
Yeah,
Holy.
yeah. But even with them, that was another funny story. I firsthand watched Lucas, CEO of Squid Industries, get not actually upset, but very annoyed that the company that made this when they mispronounced their own company name. And just I was a bystander to them just talking like him being like, "Oh, so what how do you pronounce your company?" And they said it and he was like, "That doesn't make any sense. No, that's not how you pronounce it. I'm sorry, that's not how you pronounce your company." And it was so funny. But yeah, just tons
Lucas.
of stuff like that. But yeah, Lucas Cow himself.
Crake Rackin Lucas was making fun of was making fun of pronunciations of
Yeah.
other companies. Has no one ever
Yeah.
told you about glass houses, Lucas?
He is definitely in a glass house when it comes to that specific thing. Uh yeah, the whole thing was awesome. And then I got to go to the Blade HQ storefront, made a whole great video there. That's probably one of my favorite videos I've done in 2024. It was one of the biggest tests for me because I did all the hosting for it and like producing for it there on the spot as we went.
Right.
And that was fun. So yeah, that's definitely. We already talked plenty about normal Blade Show, but yeah, Blade Show West is up there as one of my favorite Balisong experiences ever. So
Mm.
yeah, that was very cool.
Yeah, I'd like to hopefully make it this year. We'll see. We'll see.
It is expensive to get out
Um.
there.
Oh, I bet.
Salt Lake
Yeah.
City is not a cheap place to fly to, unfortunately.
No. I wonder if it'd be cheaper to fly to like one of the surrounding smaller cities and then just get there somehow.
Maybe there's unfortunately not a lot of smaller cities around there. It's kind of
Yeah,
a
just kind of just desert out there,
yeah.
huh?
I think the nearest
Salt
big city is
flats.
like Denver, I
Oh,
think,
okay.
and that's
I've been to
like
Denver before.
8 hours away. I want to say. Yeah, I'm looking at it on a map.
I've
There's not a
done
lot of other big things there. I almost did that with
I
Remshi,
done Oh,
Denver
I
to
done hit
Salt
up
Lake
Denver
City.
before.
Yeah, Denver to Salt Lake City is 8 hours. Yeah,
Sheesh.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it was very cool,
Sheesh.
and I think everybody there had a great time. Then again, the West Coast flipping competition was peak, probably the most competitive Balisong competition there's ever been. Um,
And my boy
and
Banks.
yeah, Banks won. It was Banks,
2024
and
is the year
then
of Banks.
yeah, Banks, then Balisong Nerd, then Oximity. And that was a very tough
I love
competition
that
to
lineup.
judge. There was one scenario where I accidentally held up the wrong paddle. I will fully admit that. Where there was an obvious winner and I held up the
Oops.
wrong thing and didn't notice until it was too late. Thankfully, it didn't affect the outcome. It was
You just went
not a
against the
like,
grain
oh,
on
if
that
I had
one.
voted the right way, then the other person would have won. It was not that. But if you go and watch that
Seriously?
VOD, I like it. It looks like I'm like taking a final of like doing a final dissertation. It just looks like I'm hyper stressed. It was not that. What it was when you watch the VOD is everybody else's opinion was affecting my opinion, and I didn't want my how I voted to be determined by like what the other people thought. I didn't want it to be crowd mentality kind of thing, um, or group mentality. So if you go and
Right.
watch it, I'm like looking away like that because I'm just like, okay, I really want to think this through because that stuff was hard, and I
Right.
think there's a lot of ways battle song competitions could be refined. Um,
Maybe like having an odd
as
amount of judges.
an odd amount of judges and not have
I
tiebreaker
don't.
ties
eh,
settled by crowd noise, which I did
I'm
vote. I
not
did
gonna.
vocalize my concerns directly to Lucas about that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like it's easy to put on a show like that and like, oh, this is all the things they need to do. Seriously, just get one more judge.
Yeah,
That's all you need to do. You just need to get one more judge or
yeah,
remove one. You could do
yeah.
that too.
But whenever you got people like Oximity and Balisong Nerd and Banks and
Oh,
so
that's got
many
to be
other
a
different
tough
people, because
decision.
like whenever I rewatched the VOD, as I analyzed my different voting decisions, there were multiple ones that if I had like a replay to rewatch that because the flipping is so intricate, like
Right.
especially in on the people that are really just insane at it, and like upon second viewing in each scenario, there was only maybe two scenarios where I was like, yeah, if I had a chance to look at that again, I probably would have voted differently. And those
Mm,
were two important scenarios. Um, but a lot of it was just recency bias because I'm having to recall like, okay, what did the first person do, and how does that
right.
compare? Like when you have two insanely good flippers that both did an insanely good job and neither of them dropped. Like, okay, I'm having to recall what the first person did, and now I only have like 10 to 15 seconds to decide what if the second person was better than what the first person did, and I don't fully recollect what the first person did, and so that just made various judging decisions difficult, and is why there's an intermission that happens in the middle of the show, and after that intermission, the judges all like we take a lot longer to decide who wins, and that's because we all came together and we're like, we're kind of stressed about having to immediately decide with how good everybody is.
Right.
Um, but so I think there's ways that
Yeah.
it could be refined um, that would be better for people competing in the future. But it was a great time. Everybody that participated in it, I think, had an awesome time. And yeah, it was probably the highest skill level Balisong competition ever.
I could probably agree with that. Yeah.
It was
It was the
pretty
year of
crazy.
Banks, baby. I
The
love
year
that.
Banks.
Dude, Bank.
He earned it.
We talked about how Nibali's had a crazy year. Banks also had a crazy year.
Oh yeah.
Going from rising star in the Bally Awards to winning West Coast Flipping Championship to getting his dream sponsorship from Squid to then subsequently winning Flipper of the Year in the
Yeah.
Bally Awards. Dude, that's a story. Someone make a documentary about this kid. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Well, and he did. This was one of my more controversial voting decisions I made. He did like I believe it was a scissor, where he did
I think
like
he did the most scissors ever done on
it was
stage.
like seven, six or
Yeah.
seven scissors, and that was one of my more controversial voting decisions because I was the only judge that didn't vote for him in that round. My thought process in
Oh.
the moment was because he was against Balisong Nerd. Balisong Nerd also had an insanely good set.
Mm-hmm.
Like did an insanely good job. That it had a really like very varied. All of his tricks were varied, very fluid. Like just did awesome. So in the moment, in hindsight, I probably should have voted for Banks, but in that moment, it was what Banks did was insanely impressive, but he basically only did that.
Yeah, it was
So
repetitive.
so
I
yeah, it
can
was
see
like
how that
doing the
would.
same trick over
Yeah.
and over, which it is incredibly difficult to do that. But when comparing them side by side, doing one trick repeatedly versus having an insanely good set, that's why in that moment, I voted for Balisong Nerd. Was because I just
Yeah, I mean,
like when you compare the two, it's a
right.
toss up, but to me, that stood out. That's what mattered to me more in my head in terms of judging it was like I'm looking for good flow, good trick variety. Those were the two most important things. Um,
Right.
and he did a really good job of that. I felt that deserved recognition. But yeah, Banks just continues to blow me away with his flipping.
Love that guy. Who's
Um,
the.
Go ahead.
No, never mind. I don't think either of us are equipped to answer that question.
I'm really curious what the question is now.
I was just gonna. I asked my stream about this the other day. I said, if 2024 is the year of banks, who do we think the who 2025 is going to be the year of? But I think you and I are more heavily equipped to answer like, if 2024 is the year of Nabali's, who's 2025? Who are we looking at?
Hmm.
Because I would say personally, Maker, Nabali's,
For
Flipper, Banks.
2024, 20.
It was like, yeah, for
Oh yeah,
2024.
yeah,
It was like
yeah,
the year of those two. Those two had stellar years.
yeah.
I don't know who it would be this year. I don't know who there is to keep an eye on the come up, you know?
I know. Pyro, DJ Eyeless Pyro slash Jack Piatti Pyro Pyro. Could you have any consistent name across your social medias? That would be great.
Pyro. Pyro's
Yeah, but
consistent.
well, then there's another Pyro too.
Then there's like six of them.
Yeah, yeah. But no, I know Pyro's he's in film school now. And
Yeah.
so that could lead to some cool stuff. And his flipping is insane and continues to get like he just posted a clip on Instagram the other day in slow motion where I'm just watching it in just pure and utter awe of him just doing the most crazy stuff.
Love that
Um,
guy.
so yeah, Jack could be on his way. I know Oximity is also really getting into more like just got a camera, like a proper
Ooh.
like my kind of camera.
Yeah.
Um and is really like is potentially even going to start doing like YouTube videos and stuff too. So that could be
Ooh,
cool.
I've been saying I want a YouTuber who's like
Insanely
sick at
good.
flipping. Remember when James Hill did like head mounted style videos for a few like months, I want to
Yeah.
say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's uploaded recently, but that was sick.
Yeah.
Seeing someone just like effortlessly throw like a triple aerial and then, you know, ladder it into a scissor and do some crazy shit just while
Yeah.
being like, yeah, knife kind of mid. I don't really like it that much. Doesn't
Yeah,
shuffle
well,
very
just
well.
absolutely ripping it. I do have clips
Yeah.
of him flipping, because he was one of the people that I met for the first time. Awesome dude. Had a great chat with him. He almost led to me buying an original Joni. Uh,
Jody.
oh my god,
Chioni?
no, it's Jody Sampson. Um,
Oh, okay.
the of Benchmade fame. or Pacific Cutlery / Benchmade fame. Almost got me, or he didn't convince me, but was like, hey, there's an original like 1985 Jody Sampson knife over there for like suspiciously cheap.
It's like a precursor 42, isn't it? I think I know what knife
Yeah,
you're
it's
talking about.
from it's basically when it's from this era of
The
Pacific
Advanced Balisong
Cutlery.
Manual
This
by
thing,
Jeff Imada.
okay, I'm sorry, I have to. This is one of the things I am most excited to make a video about. I would like to just briefly share with you. Hey, let me finish my point, but before I show this, it's more
Hmm.
of where are they? Yeah, it's more this era of
Yeah.
Benchmade,
Yeah, like the
like that kind
42,
of,
but like not the
yeah,
42.
like the kind of Balisong that literally you could unmistakably immediately identify the inconsistency in the whole pattern because it's all
Right.
hand drilled holes. Like some of it was like actually bad too. But the absolutely insane part of this magazine from 1986 is that it has a full build your own Balisong page to have
Oh, you showed this
Pacific
off on
Cutlery,
stream.
which is what Benchmade was called before they were
Right.
Benchmade, a full just, yep, let us know what you want and we'll make it.
Wow, and we've been saying
To
Machine Wise made it this whole
yeah,
time.
so listen to this. You could choose between aircraft aluminum, which is probably 6061 aluminum,
Yeah.
or titanium. The titanium one starts at $1,000. Your blade choices are long clip Bowie, traditional Bowie, whatever. Scimitar, drop point, mariner, stiletto, modified stiletto, spear point, modified spear point, Weehawk Tonto, Filipino Chris, upswept utility, reverse utility. You can choose between uh, 3 different kinds of steel, including Damascus steel. But here's the kicker: optional insert materials. Cocobolo wood, bocate wood, vermilion paddock wood, cordial wood, redwood burl, American walnut, Brazilian rosewood, tulip wood, ironwood, purple heart, zebra wood, African blackwood, ebony, kingswood, briar, sambar, stag, elephant ivory, or synthetic white mother of pearl.
Mother of pearl. That's a lot of
So
options.
in the 1980s, you could custom order your own Pacific Cutlery Balisong for probably the equivalent
So,
in modern dollars. I think I did the math. Like I built one out and like did the inflation calculator conversion. But most of those would start, if you did titanium, would start at about $3,000 in today's dollars.
yeah, I just threw it into the quick and dirty old
Yeah.
inflation calculator. $1,000 in January of 1985, approximately. I know these things aren't terribly accurate.
Yeah.
Is approximately $3,000 in today's money.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But so that's a whole video. So in terms of 2025 stuff, I have 3 of those magazines, all from different years, and
That's
they're
awesome.
incredibly cool. But yeah,
Yeah, I
James
love
Hill
that.
is fantastic, and I have a clip of him flipping the butter knife, and it's one of my favorite clips that I have. So yeah, Blade Show West was awesome, and I should be doing Blade Show Texas in March of this year. So, or not even should be.
Ooh,
I booked the
fun.
flight, so I will be doing it.
Well, that's like a month away. What the hell? 2 months away? Something like
It's
that.
March 7th and 8th, I believe.
Month and a half,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah,
That's close enough to what I
yeah,
just
yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
said. Um, yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been to Texas before, haven't you?
I grew up in Texas, and
No, I
also I've
mean
been to
Blade
Blade
Show,
Show, Texas.
Texas.
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay,
went in
yeah. I
2023.
I know you've been in. I know you've been to Texas. I mean, have
Yeah,
you been to Blade Show,
yeah.
Texas?
So anybody that's potentially listening, that is going to Blade Show, Texas, I will be there. Will unfortunately will not be going, but I'll be there both Friday and Saturday. So if you want to come say hey, come say hey, because I won't be filming any
Dude,
videos. I'll just be hanging out. So let's do that.
Texas people, get your game up. This is something I've noticed lately. Blade Show West, Salt Lake City, Utah has a crazy flipper scene. Blade Show East, Atlanta. There's a big active flipper scene there. There is like fuck all in Texas. What are
And they're
y'all
fully
doing
legal in
down there?
Texas.
Yeah, what are y'all doing down there?
I know they're doing a lot of really fun things politically that we don't have to get into.
I know they're
Uh,
getting hammered by snow.
yeah, I will say, getting snow in Texas, it shuts down everything because they're just
Yeah.
not built for it. Like in New York, people just have the shit to deal with it a
Yeah.
lot of the time, and the
Yeah, like we
infrastructure
have rock
plans
salt
for it.
and shovels and
Yeah,
snow plows
yeah, and
and
it maybe wouldn't be like someone will have like snow chain, like chains for tires,
yeah, you
maybe, and
don't
stuff like
yeah.
that. People don't do that in Texas. All they do is make
It's
you
so
pledge
funny.
allegiance to Texas in Texas.
You'll see like a post. I don't want to get into this rant, but you see like a post of like the snow in Texas, and the comments are just full of like smug Northerners who are like, 2 inches of snow, it's like nothing. Why are you shutting down for 2 inches of snow? It's like, do you not have you not got the mental resources to understand that these people haven't seen snow in 10 years? Why
Yeah,
would they have a fully decked out snow plow clearing system?
yeah.
It
Especially in a
would be
place as
like
big as
us.
Texas too. Like Texas is
Yeah.
huge. The idea of like just salting the roads, those roads being like backcountry roads that extend for like 20 miles and have maybe 20 houses on them. Like, no, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. That stuff's not
Anyway.
getting dealt with, but that's a separate thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other 2024 highlight stuff. The Teflon Volp released, and we're
True. You guys had a
extremely
lot of releases.
happy with it. Yeah, we had the Teflon Volp release. We had the is this it? It is. We had the Volt Pro Live Blade release.
Love that guy.
Yeah, I still every time I pick this up,
I
I'm
actually,
real happy with
I
it.
don't think I've tried that guy.
You had to have it, Blade Show West, or I'm sorry, Blade Show Atlanta.
Was it out at Blade Show?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, maybe
yeah,
it was. Okay, I
yeah,
thought it came out afterwards.
yeah.
No, I have flipped one. You're right.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that came out. We had the Squiddy WH come out as well. Um, then yeah, so those are huge, huge monumental things for us. So we're very if you bought any of those things, I'm extremely grateful that you did at all, and I really hope you're enjoying them because they're pretty cool.
Dude, I'll tell you what my highlight was the Bally Awards.
Yes, yeah. So what's your? I know we could spend a full podcast breaking that down. There are streams on your
Oh, we
main
could.
channel if people are interested
Yes.
in that, where you do break it down. But yeah, what are your standout thoughts on the Bally Awards?
Overall, very happy with it. Surprised by a few categories. Not surprised by others.
What was your
Um,
most surprising category?
Most surprising category.
Even if it's
Oh
the first
gosh,
one that comes to your head.
I don't even remember some of the categories at this point. It's been a while. My most surprising, honestly, was the Bally of the Year. The Totori winning Bally of the Year when none of Machine Wise's new products got nominated for literally anything else was a shock to me.
Yeah, well,
Not
and
because I
from what
think
I
it's a bad
understand,
ballad song. Like, it's a fantastic ballad song. I probably agree that it's one of the best ballad songs released last year. But, like, just the fact that it never showed up anywhere else in the show. Like, the Prisma
yeah.
and the Prisma Pro, the winners from last year, had, like, category after category that they were nominated for. So you kind of got some idea of, like, what was coming in Bally of the Year. Most of the Bally of the Years were, like, completely out of left field, not from any other category, anything like that.
Well, and from what I understand, it was extremely close too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
It
think
was
it was the
let me
Thai EPS Titanium Wraith, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if
Yes.
I'm wrong. That was
So
the close second.
it was right down to I just want to pull up the statistics, which I can't because I'm not logged into the right account. That's awesome. What are you
My
okay.
hair was
I'm
weird, and I wanted to silently do that without you noticing, but you
I
totally
was like,
noticed.
what are you doing?
Just my
Dude,
normal
Google
branding clone
Forms, just
shenanigans.
let me switch accounts. Why is that so difficult?
I could pull up the
Okay,
stream
I don't
where you
know.
talk about
It
it.
was within it was single digit votes. I
Yeah.
don't remember
Yeah.
if it was one vote or two votes, but it was single digit votes between the EPSTI Wraith and the Totori. So
Yeah.
when I say on my Instagram story that you should vote because you could be the difference,
Yeah.
literally, literally like two votes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very, very surprising. I'm glad that they got that recognition though, because it is a very cool.
Yeah.
Um, it's a very cool thing. That's basic in various ways, but also has some cool innovation, particularly with the weight slash spacer system. Um, so yeah, love the ways Machine Wise has evolved have been controversial, but after talking to me Martine extensively about where they're at and where they're going, I'm so excited for their future. Um,
Sam.
they just they've done a lot of refinements and a lot of just being more efficient, putting in things in for their employees to make the work environment better, and they're just doing some really cool stuff over there. So I really, really like what Machine Wise is doing. But yeah, so that's your most surprising thing, or your most surprising category. But yeah, that was a big one. I know I had some
Yeah.
controversy surrounding me with my me winning.
I don't even want to I don't even want to give it airtime, dude. The
Yeah, yeah. I'll that's a whole separate
someone
topic for another day.
I had my whole rant on the streams that I did after the Bally Awards and all of that.
Yeah,
But someone put it in very, very good terms that helped me kind of recontextualize the whole thing. I'm just happy to have created something that people feel so passionately about that they do care to like discuss it and be passionate about.
yeah,
I don't think this should have won or whatever. Unfortunately, they weren't that tactful in their words, but yeah,
yeah. No, you have made that, and
it's cool.
even it being like the size of show that it is, which is ultimately, it's not like
Tiny,
it's some
small,
show that's getting tens of
not
hundreds
worth
of
the time that I
thousands of
put into
views.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's not like you're making money from it. Like you're doing it purely from a place of
I've lost
passion.
money.
Yeah, yeah. No, honestly,
Yeah,
yeah,
$1.
yeah. $1.
That Bally Awards, negative $1 all 3 years.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
Thanks,
I think it's
Lucas.
awesome that you do it, and that's where anybody that gives you shit,
Sorry, I love you, Lucas.
that's it. But anybody that comes at you like, oh, Ethan needs to do this and he needs to change this and change that, it's like, okay, you want all those changes? You run your own award show. Ethan is one guy. We'll make like you and I have talked about like me helping out more in future years and just having more people help out with like the running of the show and stuff. So there are definitely
Yeah.
ways it can be refined, but it's like, guys, come on. He is one dude producing this
Well,
entire show. And you're bringing in other people like to do the segments and stuff, but in terms of the
right.
production of the show, the streaming of it, the layout of it, the hosting of it, the format, the distribution, all of that is all you. So
Yeah,
I think you do an
but
awesome thing. And yeah, are there things that
that's
could
not
be
even what
better?
I mean.
Sure, but yeah,
I don't even mean like people can come at me for the show all day. I don't give a shit. You come at me, that it's just the people who were shitting on not only winners but other presenters. It was a whole thing.
yeah,
Whatever. It was a great show. It was probably the best the show has been. Just and I think it's just mental on my side because I time managed like way better. I didn't work on the show up until after the stream was live,
yeah,
which has happened the past 2 years.
yeah,
Like I actually sat and I was just sitting here because I put up the stream like an hour before it went live. And most of that time I was just kind of sitting here like, I forgot something. I definitely forgot something. What did I forget this time? But no, it went great. But it was a great show. Congratulations to you on your best editor, your
thanks.
exceptional editor, sorry,
Yeah, I
award.
guess
Well deserved.
since we did mention it, I'll just give the brief context. Some people were upset because on paper the intent of the category was people that make edits for Instagram specifically, and I
Yeah.
got roped into that just because of the way the voting was. I ultimately came to the conclusion I do post a ton of content specifically to Instagram that is Balisong flipping edits. So if the category was people who post Balisong flipping edits to Instagram, I do a lot of that. And it is a different thing, and I think there could be future ways to refine that. But everybody that was in that category is awesome.
Yeah.
So that'll definitely be refined in the future. Um, but I do a lot of editing for this hobby. So,
Yeah.
um, but
Yeah. I
you
mean,
did an awesome job running the show too. Like it was very smooth, and you did like a
I've
consistently good job hosting as well.
it was the smoothest this year in terms of like tech issues and all that because I don't think we really had to pause. I remember like 2023 we had to pause for like putting chat on screen and shit like that I
Yeah,
forgot to do.
yeah,
But I don't know why. I just feel like I didn't host it as well as I could have. Like there were so many things that after the show ended, I was like, oh, I should have said that. I should have said that. The biggest one, I wanted to shout out Ty because I knew I
yeah.
won the creator of the year, and I was like, okay, you got to shout out Ty, and it was like everything else that I wanted to say, I said. I did the segment of like, hey, make sure you show some love to people who aren't specifically content creators or makers or whatever. And then there was like the Blade Bias commercial bit that I carried over from forgetting to do the year previous. But I
Yeah.
didn't shout out Ty in the one crucial moment where it actually mattered. So I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
But
That
oh well.
you will continue to go on that journey with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And hosting something live in that environment, a lot of people aren't built for that, dude.
It,
So that's where
dude, it's
I
tough.
am I cut you some slack with that cuz that's a tough. I would struggle in that environment. Running the show, monitoring chat, bringing in all the graphics that have to come in, and like doing all the transitions, that's a lot to manage. So I think you
Thankfully
did a great job. It is a
it's
bummer you forgot the tie thing, but you did a great job.
yeah, thankfully it's easy. I think I've been pretty smart about it in the back end to make it easier on myself because it's
Yeah.
just click button, click button, click button. But yeah, a lot of work goes into that, and I time managed this year, and it was actually good, and it was cool. So that was my highlight. But Brandon, unless you have something else that you want to highlight,
For
I want to talk about our
2024,
upcoming year. Yeah.
the one remaining thing that I is fascinating that we completely neglected in terms of just talking companies that did some crazy stuff. Um, Create with Nabalis.
Oh my God, you actually just saved the podcast. Holy cow.
Yes.
The coolest event, I would say, the coolest community focused event that this hobby has almost ever seen that isn't Blade Show
Yeah.
Bite Handle.
Wow, we didn't even bring up Byte Handle. Wow.
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
Wow. We did
Oh,
already
such
kind of technically talk about Byte Handle in that previous podcast, but
we
yeah,
did, but
Byte
it
Handle is
deserves to be brought up
definitely
again.
yes. Byte
That's a
Handle,
highlight.
the
Holy
Byte
highlight. That's a
Handle
highlight.
Balisong rave, created by Dasuko Flips. Yeah, that was insane. That whole.
I'm not a party person. That was so sick.
I'm not a party person either,
It
but
was
yeah, it was
so
so
sick.
much fun. We gave away a bunch of awesome Balisongs. Will and Dasuko did an incredible job um, in their DJ sets. Uh, we had a whole separate area just dedicated for people to flip. We had some snacks and drinks and all that. We had probably, I don't know, I think, what was the head count that Sam did?
Oh, 70 or 80
Okay.
total?
I know he probably doesn't remember the specific numbers because he was still so distraught about his dad. But yeah, I think it was like 70 or 80 people.
Tragedy.
Also, no, I'm not going to explain that. Um,
No one ever will.
no one ever will. Never forget. Um,
Um, yeah, Create with the Valleys though was so
yeah,
fire.
so those are all out now. It's the Reverie,
Yep.
the
Overlord
Overlord, and the
and the
Bird of
Bird
Prey.
of Prey.
The Bird of Prey is the premier one. The Overlord and the Reverie are the lower end ones. I personally haven't flipped them or touched them because we just
Nor have
got our
I.
units from Nabalis, and we are actually doing a main channel unboxing video to give our thoughts on that.
Ooh.
And we're recording that as of this recording time. We're recording that video in just a few days.
I get one of them tomorrow. Nabali's was like, "Hey, which one do you want?" I was like, "Dog,
Oh, what'd you
you
pick?
just give me whatever one you want."
Oh, so you don't know.
I don't know. I don't
I'd
know.
assume they would
And
send you
then
the bird of prey.
yeah, so then they I'm actually so I say that I don't know. I was like, "Yep, surprise me." I was like, "Oh, this is going to be sick" cuz I don't really have a super big preference between any of the Create with Nabali stuff, and I was always planning on buying at least the Overlord or the Reverie eventually.
Yeah.
Um And then they messaged me like 3 days ago. They were like, "Let me give you some more info on the bird of prey you'll be receiving." I was like, "Guys, you had one job, guys."
Yeah.
So I'm excited to check that out.
Well, and what we've talked about them, or talked about them, talked with them about, they had to solve some crazy engineering
Oh, I
challenges with
bet.
those things. Like it was not just a, oh, yep, we got the design and we'll throw it together. Like they spent a lot of time
Yeah.
on those. Like to a point where maybe there's even potential they lost money on that project
Oh,
with
I
like
would not be
the amount
surprised.
of
Like
time and energy they put into refining those. And from what I
curating
understand,
results,
there's
creating prototypes.
yeah, because prototyping is expensive for any company to do. Just the process of designing a thing and testing it and making the prototypes themselves, because all the time you're spending on that, you're not spending on actually making the products that you're actually selling. So it's an
And you have to
insanely
make like the
expensive.
mold essentially. Like you have to tool the production line to create these things,
Yes,
and
so
then
you
that
have to
has to
design a
change with every
whole
every
manufacturing
prototype that comes
process.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's oftentimes like you'll even have to make like a dedicated pallet, which is the metal,
Yeah.
like basically just a big block of metal that the handles or the blade get like secured into for it to be properly machined. Yeah, it's a crazy process, but yeah, they had to, like, I know just the bird of prey has like a ton of different components with it. I think they said there's like 16 or 17 different pieces
Yeah, and they got
that
like
like
faded G10 on it.
yeah.
I think they have
Yeah.
faded aluminum on it too. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
that's
And from what I understand, they intend on doing another one to a
I
certain
was just
extent.
gonna
I don't
say
know what capacity that will come in. I don't
there's a
know that
rumor
they'll
going
do
around they're gonna
three
do
of
it
them
again.
again. But yeah, one of the coolest things they've done, and I can't spoil anything, but I know Will and I, what I will say right now, Will and I have been actively helping them develop a specific idea, not for a product, but for an experience that people will be able to experience in the Balisong space. That is going to be one of the coolest things that has happened in the whole hobby. So they,
Cool.
so when we initially started our relationship with them, everything was just we had a group chat and we would send messages back and forth on Instagram. That's how the
Right.
entirety of like the Volp was developed, and even most of the Volp Pro was just sending messages back and forth. Um, Now they have one of their main like marketing and just main people that help run the company. Um, she speaks great English. And so that's allowed us to have direct conversations
Oh,
with
okay.
them. And Aaron, one of the founders of Nibalis, he's gotten a lot better with his English too. They released a great video, just kind of thanking people in the community, and it features Aaron
And they've been doing
flipping and
like
talking and stuff.
streams.
Yeah, they've been doing streams too. So having that connection with them has definitely cemented like they are not just a faceless corporation. They like
Which is cool,
really
yeah.
genuinely care about what they are doing. They care about making original, ethically produced stuff. And I would say all of that even if I wasn't affiliated with them. Like I am, as somebody that was extremely skeptical of them whenever we started the whole Volt project, they have genuinely made a dedicated effort to make some great stuff, and they want to continue to connect with the community in a real way. That
That's awesome.
literally the thing that they are working on, my guess is they will lose money on it, but they just want to do it because they care about
Damn.
growing the hobby and doing cool things in it, and specifically giving beginner flippers more reasons to flip, and people in
Cool.
general
That's awesome.
more reasons to flip. So there will be more details
That's what
on
we
that.
need.
Potentially by the time this podcast comes out, there may be more details on that. that are publicly released. But it's going to be a very sweet thing that they're doing there.
That's
So
awesome.
I feel they have earned their glow up that they've had over the last couple years.
I
Um,
agree 100%.
yeah. So yeah, and from what I understand, all the create with Nabal stuff, the worst thing I've heard is yeah, this one, I think they were talking about the Overlord. They just said it's fine. Like
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
about the
good
worst that I've heard as
Nabalis
well.
Balisong. That's the worst thing I've heard. So to me, good on them for allowing just anybody to make stuff. Because a couple of the people that made stuff, it wasn't like they were like some top tier designer that had a ton of name recognition and stuff like that. Like basically all of them were just kind of out of nowhere. And I think
Yeah.
that's so cool that somebody that just like I think even one of them they didn't even have like a 3D model for it. I think it was just a sketch of what it was intended to be, or like just
Yeah,
a
and I mean
2D representation of it.
the most high profile winner was what, Arapo?
Yeah, yeah,
So that was I was totally expecting Create with the Bally's to get just taken by like some maker who
yeah,
just, already designs things and already has released products.
yeah,
So to see it was like actually genuine people who had no experience with the sort of like production and design that goes with was pretty cool.
yeah. So that I'm so excited to try them. Like especially after
Yeah.
having talked about them a bunch just now for this podcast. I'm really, really excited to give them a go, and I'll give my real thoughts on them too. Like if I don't like one of them, I'll say that. But from what I understand, they'll at a bare minimum be fine.
Yeah.
But
I think that's a safe bet.
but so yeah, from there, I don't think there's really much else to recap. Or we could spend a year talking about what happened in 2024. But was your intent to move into talking about what we're some of our plans are for 2025?
It was indeed, or
Yeah.
maybe even our predictions for
Yeah.
2025. I don't think we'll have enough time to truly talk about that, but we'll kind of sum it up in like a paragraph each, I think.
Yeah. So when you say a prediction, is it just a general prediction? Is it a product
I just
prediction? A company
I watch a
prediction?
lot of YouTubers who do predictions for the year. Like they'll
Yeah.
literally just go live and they'll say, I think this is going to happen. I think this is going to happen. I think I'm going to do this. And so it inspired me to think, what do I think is going to happen in the Balisong community this year? So I think to kind of give you an idea of maybe what you would think, um, I would say my whole prediction for this year summed up is we're going to continue to struggle as we have this year, but ultimately I'm seeing a lot of signs for things that are bad, especially with uh, the current climate of things. As
Literally
much as
and
I don't want to
figuratively.
say it, as much as I don't want to say it, tariffs are going to affect this hobby if they come true,
Yes.
probably in a massive way. I'm interested to see how deep that goes.
Yep.
So, like, I am expecting to see, things like price increases, things like people maybe not spending as much or people not being as interested in the hobby, generally continuing that kind of come down from the huge peak that we had in 2021. But ultimately, I'm seeing a lot of signs from makers, creators, content in general that we're going in a path that I've wanted to see the hobby go in for a long time.
Yeah.
Um,
I know partially.
especially with some of the
Sorry, go ahead.
especially with some of the things I've heard from other content creators, like you, Den, etc. So personally, I think it's going to be. It might be rough, but I think it's going to be a really good year for us.
Yeah, so the whole tariff thing, to give the brief explanation of that, will Ethan and I, we have our political biases and affiliations, but I'll try to give just the most basic
This isn't a
not
tariff
political
is not
thing. Yeah.
political. It's an economic concept that you have to understand. So
Yes. Yeah. Donald Trump, now the president of the United States, before he was elected, and many, many times across his election campaign, regularly talked about putting a 60% tariff on all Chinese goods. Whether that will happen is currently, as the time we're recording this, maybe by the time this podcast releases, it might have already happened. It's just
That's
currently it's January 24th.
have fun in the
So he's
future,
just
losers.
yeah, yeah. So he's just been president for a few days. But he's already done a lot of the stuff that he said he was going to do. One of the things that he firmly committed to doing was a 60% tariff on all Chinese imports. And the narrative that he was painting was that if there are tariffs, that China, the Chinese government, will have to pay that tariff. No, that is not how tariffs work. A tariff is a charge put on the or put on a product by the government of that country that is receiving it. The tariff is paid to the U.S. government. It is paid
And the
when it
tariff is
comes
paid by the
into the
people.
country.
Yeah,
The person paying the tariff is the person buying the product. So if you are, as a company, were buying shirts from China for $10 and selling them for $20, if suddenly it costed $15 to import that shirt because there's, say,
a $5
yeah,
tariff.
yeah, a $5 tariff on that shirt, the Chinese company that made that shirt does not pay that tariff. You, the
Correct.
person buying the product and importing the product, pay that tariff. If you were selling a $10 shirt or a shirt that costs $10 to make for $20, if it is $15 now to get that shirt, are you going to keep selling it for $20?
You got to
No,
keep your profit margins
you won't do that. So you pass on
because
that
you have
cost to the
to.
consumer. So what that could potentially take form in is, something like an LDY product or a Nabalis or Maxace, any Chinese maker, or an American company having to import metal, say
Yeah,
titanium. The vast majority of the world's titanium is made in China and Russia. If there's a big tariff, because he also proposed a 20% tariff on all imports across the entirety of the world. Um, so if suddenly it's 20% or 60% more expensive to import titanium for, say, a company like Machine Wise, that's going to be a lot. But so we could be in a world where, Nabalis and LDY have to drastically raise their prices, and that will be paid by the consumer. They cannot suddenly
yeah.
just eat all of that cost. I can promise you, the profit margin of a Nabalis product is not 60%. I can promise you that.
So
Um, so that is what we're talking about, because that could radically alter things for American makers, things for Chinese makers, because even if it's not the Balisongs themselves, the technology to make those things could go up, because most, like, the computers we're using to record this podcast, this camera that I'm recording on, this light that I'm using to light myself, the monitors I'm looking at, most of those are manufactured in China. Could they be moved somewhere else? Absolutely, they could. But it's almost certainly going to be more expensive to move that somewhere else. So that
yeah,
is currently the question mark. And so to loop it back to my prediction, um, my optimistic outlook is that that will not dramatically affect the hobby, even if
it would be
things
nice.
are more expensive. Because like there's a world where something like an LDY Orion goes from only costing $75 to like 110 to 120 if a
Right. And
60% tariff was levied onto them,
we
and
were just
that'll change things a lot.
right. And we were just talking about how we've been spoiled by these cheap Chinese ballad songs.
Yep.
It One thing that I'd be incredibly interested to see is it would bring them more in competition with made in I say in country, but I really mean in North America, because BB Barfly, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It would bring them more in line with those prices. So
It could be good for
I
competition.
I'd be interested to see how that affects things. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I also think you made a great point on your last stream. The reason I say general price increases is inflation. I mean, that's
Yeah.
another just fact. It's
Yeah.
not a political thing, it's a fact.
Yeah.
And you pointed out, I think you might have run the calculations or something, that like squid, for example, has
Mm-hmm.
not appropriately raise their prices to account for inflation. I sort of see that as kind of being a thing that comes to a head this year as
Yeah.
companies start to struggle a little bit more. They do the price increases that maybe they should have done over the past few years.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. I'm not an expert on any of this. It's just my throw it against the wall and see what sticks prediction for the year.
Yeah. Yeah. To fill people in, I had basically looked at like the price of different like Squid Industries products like in 2021 compared to now, and even something like the swordfish, which came out in 2022. I think that released for 175. Yeah, so $175 in 175 $2022 is currently $187 in 2024 money.
Right.
So what I was talking about was like, if you just look at inflation and be like, oh, why did Squid Industries raise their prices? It's like, well, inflation has changed by like 20%. So if they
Right.
keep their prices the same, they are legitimately making less money than they were before. So that could
This
potentially be a shakeup. We don't know if that's going to happen as of the recording of this podcast. Again, that could change. We're still in the early days of Donald Trump's presidency. Um, the bigger thing that it could potentially alter is even if the Balisong hobby isn't that affected, the prices of everything will be significantly affected if
which
tons
would
of tariffs are put on Canada, Mexico. Like we import a ton of food from Mexico um, that we don't necessarily have the capacity to magically just start producing in the United States. Um, so it's just things like that could change things, but I'm hopeful that it's not going to alter things too much.
because that would indirectly affect us as well because people would have
Yes.
uh, less disposable income to spend on these goofy little slabs of metal that spin around a singular point.
Yes,
Um,
even as somebody that sells a Balisong, if it's a choice between a Balisong and food, please buy the food.
yeah, please buy the food.
Please buy the food.
Brandon doesn't get a choice. That is the food. But
Yeah, yeah. See, that's the beauty of being a branding clone. Like it's just two in one, BOGO kind of deal, you know?
to
Uh,
follow up on the swordfish the example that you used, the swordfish does still retail as of today for 175. So
okay,
that's
yeah,
the point we're trying to
yeah,
make.
yeah. There you go.
It should be 187 or whatever you said. So
Yeah. I mean, heck,
we'll see how it goes.
even look at like the Kraken trainer, like the Kraken trainer for a long time has been 200 to 220 bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And here it still is at the same price. And the Kraken trainer has
Yeah,
existed since 2020. But yeah, so that'll be interesting. Um, and that would be a big shakeup, but everything would get a big shakeup from that, and I'm sure we would bounce back from that. But in terms of a
certainly.
prediction, I'm trying to think of a good product prediction. Um, I think that I think there's a good chance that Squid Industries is going to take a step back after producing a lot of like a ton of designs over the last couple years, and I could see them taking a step back and not releasing anything for a good bit and just coming out with an absolute banger. So I
Like
think
just
they,
like all their work focused into like one design.
yeah,
That
I think they could.
I could see that.
I'd
It'd
like
be a
at least that's what I would like to see. I think that they've kind of stretched themselves very thin in terms of their product line, um, and I think I'd like to see them refine that a bit, which they already kind of have. Like they don't do the Triton V2 anymore now that the Mako is a thing. Um, but I could see them doing that, or just doing something innovative. Because I think
yeah.
there are, in terms of my plans for 2025, there are a variety of ways that the Balisong hobby could introduce some new innovative things that no one has ever tried before. That are of particular interest to me, and may or may not be why I spent most of today learning how to 3D model.
I wonder what that could mean.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry,
Why would you bring that
sorry.
up? That's so
My
off
throat was
topic.
clogged up, and I said some words that I wasn't aware that I said. Yeah, sorry. I don't know what that was.
3D modeling.
Um,
What the fuck does that have
yeah,
to do with anything we're talking about?
I don't even breathe. Actually, I have a pump.
True.
Each Brandon clone has a little like party city balloon, and there's a tiny Brandon clone that sits in my body and squeezes it so that I can breathe. So
I've been saying.
you've definitely
I
been saying
I have
that.
not been saying. Um.
You've been super saiyan.
So yeah,
Um,
a little more lighthearted, I guess. I mean, it wasn't whatever. Um. Plans. What's your general direction for this year?
yeah, so
Don't
that's
expose too much, of
no,
course,
yeah,
but
my general direction that I would like to go is I'm not
north, south, east, west.
northwest, southwest, east,
So many
west,
options.
north,
South by
south,
southeast,
south by southwest.
97 degrees.
Anyway, X hours of brain rot later. Um, my what I would like to do, I don't know what form this kind of stuff is going to take, but the thing I've noticed about our content is we just haven't been producing it very efficiently. And I would like to find ways to refine that while not losing the quality that we have and the fun nature of our videos. And I see, as I mentioned kind of earlier, there are some extremely large collaboration opportunities that both makers and content creators I feel are not taking advantage of at all, that I would like to take advantage of in a variety of different ways. And I've been cooking, really, really cooking with a lot of that stuff. I've been having a lot of conversations with a lot of different people. But because 2024, I guess one of the highlights of it was 2024 was the first year that I spent 98% of my working time working on YouTube related things.
Yeah.
Or everything attached to our YouTube channel. So that's the products, that's stuff like this, um, my streaming stuff, the Will Hirsch videos, all that. It's the first year I fully did that full time and made a decent wage doing that. Um, and now, amidst the kind of more uncertain times we're in, I would like to solidify that as much as I can, which is both for my sake, for Will's sake, for my future sake, hopefully like future family stuff. Like I would like to secure what we are doing within the Balisong space for as long as we can. And there's going to be some more challenges that have to be figured out. So both in terms of creating more efficient content, I think that we could change the formats of what we're doing. I think we could aim more. We've been aiming almost purely at the people that are hyper focused on the hobby and really, really, really into it. Um, Whereas I feel there's a large amount of people that don't know all this crazy stuff we're talking about. They don't know what the heck blade bias and handle bias means. They don't know whenever we're talking about, oh yeah, I was doing a chatter the other day. It's like, what the hell is a chatter? Like, oh yeah, the giraffe, when you do the giraffe, like, what the hell is a giraffe? Like, what's a Zen pin? What's a Tang pin? You mentioned, oh, it's only on washers. What does that mean? What does only being on washers mean? What's a bushing? What's a bearing? What's a why should I care if something's titanium or aluminum? Like things like that. I think that there's big potential to capitalize on that to just make more informative content that's not just a review. It's not just, this is what we think about this specific Balisong. Great, thanks,
Right.
bye. And more talking things in general terms. And that's where I feel there's a lot of opportunity with the whole EDC space. Of There's a lot of people that make EDC like knife content, EDC being everyday carry. They make stuff about pocket knives and they never talk about Balisongs. Not because they're not interested in them. There's just not a lot of overlap there. So to me,
Right.
there's a lot of very interesting discussions to be had with like an EDC focused channel that are super into knives, have a ton of respect for the work that goes into them. You know, understanding the ergonomic nature of it, the durability stuff, knowing all the different types of titanium and blade steel, and what's sharp versus what isn't sharp, and things like that. Expanding that into, hey, EDC people, you probably think of a Balisong as an absolutely terrible $8 Amazon trainer that sounded terrible, flipped terribly, and absolutely sucked. Check out this thing. This thing will blow your mind.
Yeah.
This thing will blow your mind. Even this will blow your
Yeah.
mind. The sound of it, the feel of it, the shocking amount of utility you can have with it. So that in general is one of the ways, a few of the ways that I would like to expand things and just try to bring more people into the hobby, just for the sake, like, that's not even really attached to like oh, I want to bring more people in so I can sell more products. Like, no, to me it's, the tide rising raises all the ships. So that's
Right.
more of like what I'm kind of aiming at. And I think there's a lot of ways to do that that aren't going to be super intensive to figure out. So that's where my sights are set. And from what I understand, you have your sights pointed in a vaguely similar direction. Maybe not in terms of the EDC
Yeah.
stuff, but in terms of less review content. But I'll let you explain
Yeah.
that.
2024 came to a head with me just kind of trudging along, releasing blade biases. I love blade bias. I love recording them. I love sharing my opinions on stuff. It's great. Talking in an unscripted format is definitely where I feel that I shine. Um, but to deny that I have just been kind of trudging along, releasing stuff for the sake of releasing it, is uh, would be me burying my head in the sand and denying it.
Yeah.
And I want to get back to a point where I was learning something with every video release, where I could point, because this used to be the case with my main channel. I could point to a video and I'd say, oh, that's the video where I learned how to properly pace B-roll. That's the video where I properly learned how to do this cool little animation thing. That's the video where I learned how to green screen and cut stuff out of video, like,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where I could do that with every single, because that was my goal when I actually uploaded on my main channel, was learn something new with every upload. And I just want to get back to that. But it's also come at a time where I have been very vocal about my want for non-review content.
Yeah.
Reviews are great. Reviews drive a hobby. Most hobbies are just reviews, like the tech industry. There's a lot of reviews.
Yeah.
But the thing about other hobbies is there's a good balance. You have the review focused content and you have the entertainment focused content.
Yeah.
Probably not the best time to bring this up, but you have Gamers Nexus for the people who want the graphs and the numbers and the itty bitty gritty. And you have LTT for the people who just want to see someone do some dumb shit with like 16,000 monitors,
Yeah.
We don't have the dumb shit. We don't have the entertainment value. We have, do you want to buy a knife? You watch a review. Do you want to just enjoy Balisongs?
I have to objectively
I mean,
disagree that there's not dumb shit. I do a lot of dumb shit on the Will Hirsch YouTube channel.
yes, that is true. And you guys,
But yeah,
have always,
your point stands. There's
yeah,
not
you guys have always
balance.
been something to point at and be like, hey, they're doing cool stuff. The Balisong, what was the name of it? The reality TV show that you guys did.
Oh, Blade Battle.
Blade Battle, yes. Blade Battle was
Battle.
fire. Stuff like that. I've always said, hey, I just want to see more of that. And it was hypocritical of me, being someone who just uploaded head-mounted slop. Head-mounted content is slop, and there's nothing wrong with that. You need something to fill in the gaps of
Sometimes
content.
slop
You
is
have,
good. Like a sloppy
Yeah, like-
Joe. I'm down for a sloppy
moist
Joe.
critical.
It's a little messy, but tastes good.
Yeah.
I don't want to eat it all the
critical.
time though.
Someone who does zero, like very, very low effort content. It fills in the gaps. It's someone you can watch. And that is totally awesome. But pretty much like most major channels I can think of are just doing, head mounted slop. Again, nothing wrong with that. We need that in this hobby. That was actually a goal that I had was run Blade Bias until the gaps have been filled in and there's more consistent people uploading for people to watch. We've reached that.
Yeah.
And now, instead of sitting here complaining about it, I'm going to do something about it. I was hoping someone else would, because I thought someone else would have better ideas than I do. But I've made it my New Year's resolution in Balisongs to revive my main channel without making a single review focused video. And I shouldn't say that, because ultimately I will probably get in the swing of like making videos again. And I'll say, you know what? I really want to do a main channel review again. But my goal isn't just, we're going to revive the main channel without back to back to back to back to back reviews. And we're going to
Yeah.
see how it goes. Maybe I'll fail. Maybe I'll soar. Maybe it'll just be mediocre. And next year I'll say that sucked and I'm not doing that again. We're just going to try it.
Well, and that is the creative process too, in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. Like that's something Will and I have been on the whole journey we've had with YouTube, and we will continue to have. And that's like what I was just talking about is it you kind of go in a like 2020 or 2021 was kind of a response to what we did in 2020. 2022 was in response to 2021. And now here we are in
Right.
2025. And I have a more clear vision as to what 2025 looks like, as to if Will and I are on the same page about that. That's still the question mark, because we do,
Mm-hmm.
through the large amount of conversations we've had over the last 2-3 months. The short version is him and I just think differently about a lot of stuff, and we have different goals and expectations for what we want to do. So that's where I don't really know what form the stuff I want to do will take. Um, so that's where that still has to be figured out. But with what you're figuring, or what the journey you're on, you had a solid year of basically just doing Blade Bias and
Yeah.
almost nothing else, and doing basically the same videos over and over and over again. And I've enjoyed every Blade Bias video I've watched. I haven't
Yeah.
watched all of them, but I probably watched 60-70% of them. Um,
It'd be crazy if you
and
had.
that would be impressive. Yeah. But I enjoy it. Like I think I've consumed a lot of other content that is that head mounted style, and you and Will just do it very efficiently. Um, and I think because a lot of
Thank you.
people, you're good at interacting with, you're good at conveying information and kind of organizing your thoughts as you go. And even if you do stumble in various things and get sidetracked by different things, but you always do a good job. If you do go on a tangent, you always circle back to what you were talking about originally. And
Right.
that's a tough thing to do. A lot of the other people that I watch, they just don't know where they're going. They don't know what points they want to make. They don't know like how to really break down the different concepts that they're trying to talk about. They indication for me of like somebody like not fully being confident in what they're talking about. And this is even something I've called out Will about in various videos that he's done, and even like scripts that we've written. And a problem I've had too is when someone they'll explain something and be like, "Yeah, so it's this, and I think this. So, yeah, I don't know that phrase. So yeah, I don't know. It's like think about what you're saying there. You are literally saying at the bottle cap to your thing that you were just talking about is yeah, I don't know. And you've
Yeah,
even
it's a little
said
bit
that in
contradictory.
yeah, and so just that kind of it's like if you're
I do that,
saying
yeah.
that about something, and we all do. Um, I'm guilty of using that phrase a lot, but you and Will do a good job, and Will also says it a lot. But you do a good job of like knowing what you're going to talk about in each video, and breaking down your points relatively efficiently, especially for being unedited and unscripted. But I think your knowledge that you have and your ability to convey information would definitely it would be a good putting that energy into a more properly scripted and edited video, I think would do a lot. And I'd be very
I don't
curious to
even
see what
know.
form that would take.
I don't even know if they'll be scripted. I'll be honest with you.
Or maybe not
Because
scripted, but just more structured.
I'm the kind of guy who goes It's so cringe. I don't know why I just said it like that. Um,
I'm the
I'm the
kind of
type of
guy.
person
I'm
who
built
would.
different.
I just said the same thing. Oh my god. I'll like
So
be in the
yeah, I don't
shower or
know.
something, and I'll just talk as if I am recording a YouTube video,
Hmm.
and I will, over the course of scrubbing down, refine that script into something that I could get out and just record it. And I think that's kind of where the blade bias ability to do that comes from, is that
Yeah.
I've just done that for so long. Because I've been doing that, gosh, since maybe fifth grade,
Oh
talking
wow.
in the shower as if I was like recording a YouTube video.
Interesting.
Um, Not talking, but you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like sorting through those thoughts and everything. It's kind of where the Eclipse video came from, was like one of
Mm-hmm.
those like shower scripts that I just got out and I typed down as much as I could remember from that. Um, but yeah, I should, you made a point in there, or you didn't make a point, but I should clarify. You made me realize I should clarify. Blade bias isn't going anywhere. The frequency is just going down so that I can focus on those other things.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Of course, the second that I announce, oh hey, I'm not going to upload every other day, I get enough content to upload every other day for like probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks straight. But
Yeah.
oh well.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see where you go with that. And of course, it's always. I wish. I wish the one area that or one reason I wish this hobby was bigger was that I wish that there was more room for more people to be able to create something that wasn't purely fueled by just passion for it, and that there were more avenues to where, like, obviously, like, you make a small amount of money from blade bias, but that's not
Right.
like any amount of money you will ever be able to count on or rely on for your normal day-to-day living, which is
Right.
just a symptom of how small the hobby is. And Will and I'm extremely grateful to be virtually one of the only people in the world to have ever, like, the fact that I could say I am a full-time Balisong YouTuber and that I
Yeah.
made uh, double the median amount of money for somebody doing my job in my field of work, being a Balisong YouTuber, which it is a stretch for me to say double the median because I wear a lot of hats. That median is like for a videographer in Georgia,
Right.
is X amount of money, and I made about double that from YouTube. But I am not just a videographer. I am definitely not just that. Um,
Right.
but it makes me wish that there was more of a path for like somebody like you, like for if you really wanted to, or you already do want to, refine your main channel and bring that back. I wish that that wasn't going to result in basically no financial gain so that you could keep doing that. So I think it's great that you're pursuing it. And that's what I tell people with this hobby specifically when they want to make content is like, if you're going into this to try to make money, you're going to have a bad time. But if you're going into it to
Yeah.
learn something, you're going to have a great time. And that's what I think is
Yeah.
awesome about where your head is at, is it's a vehicle to learn thing. It's learn things,
Right.
to make connections with people, to even just making the memories. And getting better at writing and with technology and talking to people, conveying information, conveying ideas. That's not going to be bad for you. Even if it's just
No.
like, your relationship or, friendships that you have, like those are all going to be good things for you to learn. So I
Right.
think your head is in the right place with that.
And ultimately, I'm glad I won't be benefiting financially from it, because
Yeah,
making money off of blade bias has in a way been exactly what I thought it's been, and it's turned it more into a thing that I kind of have to do. Like,
yeah,
I would be lying if I said there weren't nights where I got in the shower before bed and realized, oh, I didn't upload a freaking blade bias video today. Oh, like there were times where I was like, okay, I'll hop out, I'll transfer over the files, I'll upload it and stay up like an extra half an hour or whatever, when I really shouldn't have, because I already have a problem with going to bed late.
yeah,
Because I don't want the revenue thing to fall too low. I'm glad I can still look at this and be like, yeah, I'm not gonna make anything off of the main channel, but like, I don't collect Transformers to make money. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
flip Balisongs to make money. I don't record video to make money. I don't watch YouTube to make money. It's a hobby. I don't
yeah,
need to be making money off of it. And I understand you're in a very different place, so I'm not like talking down on anyone who does do that. I think it's
yeah,
incredible that people can do that.
yeah,
But just for me personally, it's like I'm treating this like a hobby. I've never, sat down and played Minecraft with the intention of making a full-time living off of it.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I put a ton of effort into Minecraft. Oh my God. So,
Yeah, and even for me,
yeah.
if every ounce of money I've ever made and could ever make from being in this space doing what I'm doing, if all of that disappeared and there was no financial viability to doing it, I would still want to do this podcast. I would still want to do an occasional review. I would still go to basically every Blade show, or at
Right.
least Blade Show Atlanta because it's so close to me. Like I
It
would
just
still do
determines
that. I
how
would still be
much.
involved. I would still want to collect different Balisongs whenever I could. Like I would be interested in this regardless of the money. I just think it would. Whenever I see people get excited about being like, "Oh, I'm going to be a Balisong content creator," it sucks that there's not more room for them to really expand into like, okay, yeah, like, oh yeah,
Right.
like for me to confidently say like, oh yeah, yeah, once you get to X amount of views or X amount of subscribers, you'll probably make X amount of money, and that can continue
Right.
to fund and fuel everything else that you're doing. That's
Because,
at least what I wish it could be, but it's just not really that right now.
yeah, because
And that's where I feel like
the
it could
truth of the,
expand and we could get more people involved and maybe it could be that. If we cross contaminate
right.
a little bit with other hobbies, do some
Cross
big collaborations
contaminate.
with different people and stuff like that. Um I think that it could expand in a lot of cool ways.
Yeah, because I mean, the truth of it is the money dictates how much you can really like put time into it, right?
Yeah.
You can't, you know, I don't make money off of this, so I have to have a normal job. I have to have a normal life outside of that to support it. Whereas, I don't know, Ludwig can put fucking 3 months of his life into playing League of Legends to get plat
Yeah.
because that's how he makes his money. So yeah, I it would be cool if that avenue was open for other people because there are people out there who want, like, I'm not someone who wants to do it professionally, but there are people who want to do that, and that avenue
Oh
just
yeah.
doesn't really exist for them, which does suck.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm excited to hear you and other content creators talking about doing things beyond reviews because I
Yeah.
think that is at least part of the puzzle that pushes us further into growing everything.
A review of a $500 Balisong doesn't bring more people into the hobby.
Right. It just makes people
Like
realize,
maybe
oh
like
shit, maybe I
maybe
shouldn't get involved in this.
maybe something like the Necron, like maybe that review, people that are just general like pocket knife
Yeah.
fans, maybe they watched that and was like, oh wow, okay, they mentioned all these other Bella songs, like oh that seems cool, maybe that kind of thing. But like the review of the Tai Sasori and Totori, that's not going to bring people outside of the people that already watch us into the hobby.
Right.
There's not even a fancy title that we could come up with that is going to like bring people into that. This is purely that review is just for people that are already in this and
Yeah.
understand it and we explain different things in it, but it's the core of it is generally assuming that people vaguely know what we're talking about, which is one of the big videos that we're working on, which is I'll just say it. I don't need to keep it under wraps because I think people can be excited about it. We are basically doing a reboot of our video we did in 2020 that was titled Butterfly Knife 101. It's basically Butterfly Knife
Ooh.
101 2025 edition, talking about the current state of the
Ooh.
hobby, the different company, like the different players in the space, briefly giving an explanation of what different Balisongs there are, um, the different, there's sandwich construction, there's chanwich, there's channel, there's there's stainless steel things and pros and cons of stainless steel. Then there's aluminum, pros and cons of aluminum, titanium, pros and cons of titanium. Just a brief overview of that, give people the lay of the land, and then okay, you know all that. What should you actually buy? What things do we recommend? Here's a quick recommendations. Cool. Where can you go to learn? Here's a bunch of different channels that you can learn from. Who are the different people you can watch? Here are the other Balisong content creators right now. Bada bing, bada boom.
Honestly, one thing I would love to see this year, and something that I'm kind of focusing on, because I think that video would be great, but I want to give people, I don't want to give people the answers. Like, I don't want to say, hey, the Orion is a fantastic starter Balisong,
Yeah.
because that video is going to be out of date
So
in
quick. So
six
quick.
months.
Yeah.
I want to give people the tools to figure out what's a good starter Balisong right now.
Yeah.
Things like, hey, watch reviews. You're a beginner, you're not going to understand what this means, but look for someone saying that something has handle bias, because handle bias is going to make these beginner tricks easier for you. Look for people talking about comfort or stuff like that, and give people the tools, a truly timeless beginner video,
Yeah.
void of like, oh, the Orion's great, the cheese is great, because that stuff isn't going to exist in 10 years or whatever. It's going to be completely different.
Yeah. And that's kind of I've written currently I've just written a relatively substantial outline of that video. And that is one of the things that Will and I talked about with it, is like we don't really want to make it hyper focused on any specific company or product. Just a general
Right.
like one of the things in my outline that I currently have is like the general pricing of different things and how you generally don't spend less than $25 on a Balisong. Why? Because they're almost always going to be made of stainless steel and not be good for flipping. They're not going to have a proper pivot system, and they will almost certainly fall apart on you. You want to know why? Or you want to know how we know? Check out all these Amazon videos that we've already done. They're not good.
Right.
So, you should probably spend within X amount of range. Why? Well, here's a breakdown of all the different types of things that you can get. So that's like with stainless steel. It's like, okay, well, stainless steel is a cheap material, but it's heavy. So generally
Right.
things that are made of stainless steel, they're going to be heavier and potentially not as good for flipping. And that's where it's something like the Nibalis Canyon, that's an exception to that rule, because they did manage to make a very good stainless steel Balisong, but it's like generally it's cheaper and it's durable, but it's not great for flipping. Then you have aluminum.
Right.
Aluminum is generally great for making Balisongs because it's light and it's decently durable, but it's not going to be super durable. But it's a relatively affordable material to make stuff out of. And then above that, you have titanium. That's kind of the best of both worlds. It's durable and it's good for making Balisongs out of, but it's very expensive. So you're going to be paying a
Right.
premium if it's titanium. So not saying like, oh, for $50 get this, for
Right.
$150 get this, for $250 get this. It's like, okay, so within this range, these are the kind of products that will be in that range, and here's generally what the features they will have. So if you want something, so like kind of breaking that down into, if you want something that's cheap but not going to be particularly good at flipping, but will be durable, get something that's made of stainless steel. If you want something that's going to be good for flipping, but isn't going to be the most durable thing in the world, get something that's aluminum. If you want something that's going to be
Right.
great for flipping and is going to be really durable, get something that's titanium. But no, you'll be paying more for all those different features. There's unfortunately not a best of both worlds within that thing. So yeah, I agree that like not just telling somebody, hey, you should do this, giving them the knowledge so that they can make their own decision.
Right.
To me, that's the better way to go about it. So that's kind of what that video is going to be. And that's where like we will still give a product recommendation, but it'll be more, here are the companies to keep an eye on. So like instead of saying, out of all of Squid Industries Balisongs, I think you should get this. It's like, no. Squid Industries, they have a wide range of stuff. They have their issues, but they're an American company. They make everything in the United States. They have a very solid warranty repair service, and they generally make some very reliable Balisongs. So
Right.
check them out. They have a range of this up to this. As cheap as a plastic Balisong up to a $400+ titanium one. And which one should you get? Look at all the other things we already said in the video and
Right.
weigh the pros and cons of that. So that kind of thing. But what I said to Will was we should make a video that doesn't assume that people know what we're talking about. So we
Yeah.
shouldn't just say, "Oh, this is good because it has a bushing pivot system." Like, what the hell is a bushing pivot system?
There's definitely kind of like a if you know you know kind of thing with videos today. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm horrendously guilty of it as well. Um that is definitely a barrier to entry. And I mean, I'm someone who enjoys kind of digging through hobbies and learning about all this stuff, but not everyone is like that. Some people need like a really comprehensive thing that says this is what this means. This is, how you use this knowledge.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I'm glad we're both in that headspace of trying to do that. And like one of the things
Yeah.
that I said to Will was I don't like that the only videos we make are either an insanely high effort or that like we make, that him and I make together. Like I've made
Right.
my own offshoot things, but the only things we are making together are crazy high effort Balisong review or low effort unboxing video. I don't like that
Or
being the
medium
only two
effort
things.
Balisong review.
And that's what I would like to find that. And that's what I've tried to do, but each review I've tried to
Yeah,
do
I
that
guess
are
I
like
should say you guys
posted in
have
my own
tried to
thing.
do that.
Like we've tried to do that and we keep falling into it being a really high effort thing. And that's of course what keeps people coming back to our content, but I think that there's a healthy middle there where we can more efficiently talk about, like I keep holding this thing up. The Barracuda V2 is fantastic. One of the best battle songs of 2024. This does not need a 25-minute long review with
True.
crazy B-roll, crazy mind-bending visual effects gags. Because I also don't think that's best for BB Barfly either if it takes us 8 months to produce a review on one of their products, you know?
True.
So that's where I'd like to find that middle ground that's just more, so for the sake of the review and for the sake of shining a spotlight on that company, we could do that. But then there's other formats that we could explore that are still within that, and that's one of the things that I'm exploring with the different people we want to collaborate with. Is there some really cool ideas in there that are not just Balisong reviews? Like
Right.
one in particular integrates specifically the journey of a beginner flipper and puts that in a competition package, which I
Okay.
think is really exciting. And I won't
Yeah.
divulge more than that. But I think there's a lot of room for that, which a lot of people don't do because, as a lot of people have learned, making videos is really hard.
Yeah.
Even making a
I
low effort video is hard because even for you,
yeah.
even for your head mounted stuff, you have to be good at communicating. You have to be decently good at editing. You have to have even if that just means you have to know how to put the clips together and how to export them and do some color work to them or throw in, an edit that you have to do. Like even that is a
Right.
huge hurdle for a lot of people to get over. So being good at talking to people, being good at, and even just framing the thing, knowing how to use the settings on your camera to make it look the best that it can or make it look good enough. That's a skill you have to learn. You have to learn a
Yeah.
lot of skills to be a Balisong content creator. The hardest one being actually flipping the damn things.
Yep.
So it's one thing writing a video. It's another thing shooting a video. It's another thing editing a video. It's another thing hosting a video. But the hardest part of that is actually flipping.
That's kind of why a lot of the flippers are like mediocre or a lot of content creators are mediocre by today's standards because we spec our points into other things.
Yeah. That was something I was talking to somebody about. It's like if you were to build like an RPG character, unfortunately, if you have like 20 talent points out of like 10 skills, you're going to have to put about 12 of them at least into just the Balisong flipping skill.
Yeah.
And you're only going to have a few points to divvy out to all the other things that you have to do.
Or vice versa.
Yeah. Which is why you've seen me, for example, create incredibly high effort content and be kind of stagnant in terms of the actual flipping because it takes a lot of work to actually make the pretty videos with the crazy edits and all that stuff. Especially all the
And
videos I did in 2024 that were 100% created by me. Um,
right. And that's why the best flippers out there don't really create content because they don't have the points spec'd into hosting or editing
yeah,
or camera work or stuff like that. Although some of you guys are starting to spec your points, I can see it coming, and that's why I'm excited for content this year.
yeah. I would love
Dude,
for
Balisong,
2025 to be the content creator renaissance.
I kind of think it will be. That's kind of partially one of my predictions. Just look at Balisong Nerd, who I
Yeah.
believe to be the current perfect marriage of stellar camera work and video creation understanding while also being one of the top flippers.
Yep. Yep.
Mwah.
Yep. 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 Yeah. So I would love, God, I would love more competition when it comes to making proper Balisong content with an actual camera. Like I just
Yeah.
rip to he didn't die, but Addison True was my, and even Ty to a certain degree was like a very healthy motivator for me, seeing the stuff that they were
Yeah.
making, and both of them just stopped for completely understandable reasons. But there has yet to be. Oh, there you go again.
Nah, just roll with it. I'll
Okay.
fix it.
Should I keep talking?
Yeah, just roll with it. Screw it.
Okay.
Hi guys,
Look, it's
I'm
my
talking to you from the
room
void.
from like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
But no, I would love to see more people just really just creatively collaborating too. And that's where like I welcome anybody to create content, and even if it directly competes with our stuff, like again, a rising tide raises all ships. So
My phone died.
oh, it's dead. Is this how we're ending the
Yeah.
podcast?
This is how we're ending the podcast.
Wow.
It's over.
You could just put a little frozen image of you in the edit.
Yeah,
It'll
we'll
be
do
great.
something like that.
It'll be lovely. And I don't even think
What
we
if I
should cut
did?
this part out. Like just us talking about what you'll do for the edit of this this podcast.
Yeah, I think we should just run with it.
Yeah, I love that.
I've changed my. Yeah, this is.
I'm now the single host of the
No,
Play
you know
Bias
what I'll do?
podcast.
I'll just use footage from before when I'm talking, and the lips won't be
And then,
synced up or anything.
Well, I guess this is a natural endpoint then.
Thank God, it's been 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, but 2024 was fantastic. Thank you to everybody that was involved in helping making that year so special. Even if you watched 20 seconds of any of our videos, that is greatly appreciated. I know we both enjoy this hobby for a lot of reasons and for different reasons too, but I'm so glad that we've been able to still maintain a solid connection through it, and I'm looking to strengthen that connection over the next year. Despite all the challenges that are ahead, I would love to look back at 2025 and just know that we did the best that we could and had as much fun as we could doing it. That's my goal with it. So no matter what happens, there's a lot of opportunities, and I'm looking forward to capitalizing on those. And thank you to everybody that's been involved in the journey and will continue to watch our stuff in 2025 and beyond. And if you have any questions or any feedback on any of the ideas we had, or that we discussed in this podcast, like leave a comment. I always I go back and check old Blade Bias podcasts all the time to see if there's new comments that I can reply to. So I like having that kind of conversation.
Yeah, it's great. And thank you, everyone. Like Brandon just said, appreciate it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the moment.
Yeah, can we make the vague promise that it's not going to be another 6 months?
No, I can make an actual promise that it won't
Okay.
be another 6
Okay.
months. That's another resolution of mine in the Balisong hobby is
Yeah.
stop being so damn lazy.
We can do it. I'm excited to do it. This is one of my favorite things I get to do.
Yeah, I really enjoy the podcast.
And I might even expand into other podcasting opportunities as well in 2025. So
Ooh.
we'll see. But I guess since you
All
signed
right.
us in, do you want me to sign us out, or would you like to sign us out?
I think the PNG probably shouldn't be the one to sign us out. So,
I was gonna say. Well, yeah. No, here's what you could do. You could just add like a little block that goes up and down, like to imitate your mouth moving. No. Thank thank you so much for
that'd be
watching,
fire.
everybody. Ethan is admiring you from the ether. The ether in
I'm doing my really awkward
e-
smile
e-
at the camera.
ether in blade bias. Bias
Yeah,
blade.
close enough.
EE. But anyway, thank you so much for listening, everybody. We'll post updates on future podcast stuff on our socials, which you can find in various descriptions of various things. But go watch more Blade Bias too, because Ethan's got a ton of great videos.
And go check out the stuff that Brandon and Will are cooking up as usual over on the Will Hurst channel. I have been camaroEE of the Blade Bias podcast, and this has been Brandon Baker of the Blade Bias podcast.
That is
I
all
love
I'm known for.
callbacks. I
I'm
love
also known
callbacks,
for
man.
when this podcast ended with me staring daggers into the camera and shockingly slowly, exactly 3 seconds ago, started fading to black really slowly. And it's still barely fading, like just that little bit as I talk. And it's
And I'm
still
staring
fading and it's
too.
really dark. Oh, now it's getting suspiciously dark and it's over.
And we'll see if I remember to do that in the edit.
Watch you just nod.